Where'd you stay?
You sure did.
Somebody was just mentioning the last 25 years, doing the celebration, we haven't had a day.
Very good, very good. As all of you know, this is a very special day for us here in the city of Syracuse. The Ukrainian community has been one of our strongest communities in a city that has a rich diversity of welcoming immigrants and welcoming people of peace. In the time that I have been mayor, we have seen the Ukraine people undergo tremendous sacrifice and stress. And we are conscious of what they are living under and what freedom actually means and the many sacrifices that people have to go through in order to attain it. We want to keep those people in mind as we celebrate this flag raising. I've also been told that for the 25 years that we have been doing this at City Hall, the weather has been perfect every single time. So with that in mind, and given that while I would like to say I control the weather, I don't. It is controlled by a higher power. I will also introduce a higher power than myself. It is my pleasure to welcome to the microphone His Excellency Boris Gudzak, who is a native to Syracuse, but is now in Europe, tending to the flock of Ukrainian Catholics throughout Western Europe, and it was actually supposed to be in the Ukraine today. But we are joined by he and his mother. We want to thank them for being here, and without further ado, I'd like to welcome him to the microphone for the benediction.
Madam Mayor, Reverend Fathers, dear brothers and sisters, the Day of Ukrainian Independence is a day of gratitude to God for this gift. 25 years ago, Lord, you gave our people a freedom they longed for decades and centuries, having sacrificed hundreds of thousands and millions of lives for their God-given dignity. Today, Lord, watch over those who try to protect this dignity against a hybrid war. Give peace to the 10,000 who have died in the last 2 years. Be with all the widows and with all the orphans. Give a home to the 2 million refugees. Lord, bless our unity, bless our service. Help us always be mindful of the gift of freedom that this country gives us, the welcome that it is given to Ukrainians and all people who are tired and persecuted. Bless the mayor and bless this city, which has been so good to us. May the joy and the peace of the God-given human dignity that you bestow on us be with us always. Amen.
I'll do the proclamation. On behalf of the 25th anniversary of Ukrainian Independence Day, I have issued a proclamation. Bear with me. Whereas in 1991, the Parliament of Ukraine acceded to the aspirations of the Ukrainian people by formally declaring an independent Ukrainian state, thereby establishing the territorial integrity of Ukraine as a sovereign and inviolable, and this historic action had taken place on August 24th, 1991, brought an end to the brutal totalitarian regime whose crimes against humanity cast a dark shadow over human history and cost many nations, including Ukraine, millions of lives, many of whose names will tragically never be known or memorialized. And whereas Western governments have noted that the backsliding of democratic principles in recent years has led to instances of censorship, a lack of basic human rights, and selective prosecution of officials, and thus inhibits the integration into the Euro-Atlantic institutions. That if Ukraine wants to join the Euro-Atlantic community, it must adhere to the international norms and democratic principles. And whereas the efforts of Ukrainians across and around the world to preserve the language, culture, and history of the nation must be acknowledged and encouraged so that this effort continues for the sake of future generations. Such preservation has allowed Ukrainians to make significant contributions to the culture and society of the United States. Whereas we urge all citizens to join the celebration commemorating this momentous event in the history of the Ukrainian nation, and to keep the people of Ukraine in their thoughts and prayers as they go through the continued struggles as they fight for their freedom and unquestioned right of self-determination. Now, therefore, I, Stephanie A. Miner, Mayor of the City of Syracuse, do hereby proclaim the 24th day of August, 2016, as Ukrainian Independence Day in the City of Syracuse.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. At this point, I'd like to welcome everybody. Хочу всіх привітати від української громади і представити наших почесних людей. I'd like to introduce a couple of dignitaries. Перш за все, first of all, our very own, we're very proud of Boris Gudyak, His Excellency. Would you please welcome, прошу привітати вашими теплими оплесками. Його Екселенція Борис Гудяк. Poruch Vladika, standing next to His Excellency, is Reverend Mikhailo Dosyak, pastor of St. John the Baptist Ukrainian Catholic Church. Poruch Otya, standing next to the pastor, is Archpriest, Very Reverend Vladimir Pizzo, Sotrudnik, Assistant Pastor, St. John's Church. And standing next to Reverend Pizzo is Reverend Mykola Andrushkiv, pastor of St. Luke's Ukrainian Orthodox Church. You know, each community in Syracuse, whether it's Ukrainian or other ethnic group, has various organizations that keep it viable. The first organization in any group should be one of educating their youth, of maintaining that link to their heritage, their culture. Thus, we're very fortunate to have two such organizations. First organization I'd like to introduce is the Ukrainian Scouting Organization, Ukrainsky Plus, Lida Bonyak. Where is she? Second, we have Ukrainian American Youth Association, друга організація, це є спілка української молоді Сум Америки, заступник голови Гриць Лісничий. And where would the Ukrainian community be without Ukrainian ladies? I mean, they are the backbone of every community. Так що знаємо всі, що українська культура – це є матріархальна, мимо того, що чоловіки думають, що не проводять родини, це неправда, ми всі це знаємо. So, the Ukrainian Ladies Organization, let me get this right. Ukrainian Women's League of North America. Голова, President Julia Sidorovich. And also there's a Women's Organization for the Defense of Core Freedoms of Ukraine. Zastupnik голови, this Ojeto. It would be Vice President Sofia Khmara. Now, we talked about the one backbone of the community. The other backbone is the financial backbone. Говорили вже про різні хребти нашого суспільства. А також маємо хребет чи підтримку фінансову. We have a financial institution here which was started way back in the late 50s, early 60s. This is the Ukrainian Federal Credit Union. And representing the Ukrainian Federal Credit Union is Lesia Porashchak and Alina Levkova. And we have one gentleman here that has so many functions. He's on multiple lists. St. Luke's Orthodox Church has a parish council and a parish community center. And the head of that parish council and community center is none other than Greg Nisnichi. And for over 75 years, the Ukrainian community has gathered around the Ukrainian National Home for вже понад 75 років. Українська громада скупчилася біля Українського народного дому. And let me introduce the chairman of the board of the Ukrainian National Home, голова ради директорів Українського народного дому. Again, Greg Nisnichi. I think he's a workaholic. Хочу вас всіх привітати. I'd like to welcome you to this year's celebration. This year's celebration is bittersweet. Цього року ми святкуємо 25-ліття незалежності України зі смутком і з радістю. Ми вже чули, як дуже гарно представив цю ситуацію Його Ексцеленція Владика Борис, так що не буду повторяти. We heard the moving words, moving prayer of His Excellency regarding the bittersweet nature of this celebration. So without further ado, я би тепер хотів представити. I'd like to introduce the keynote speaker. Хочу представити головного промовця. Keynote speaker was born in Syracuse. Just as a background, her father was the head of UKK, Ukrainian Congress Committee, for many years, and he was responsible for these occasions for X number of years. He was also on the board of directors of the Ukrainian Federal Credit Union, the Ukrainian School. So she comes from a well-educated, well-rounded Ukrainian family, brought up in a true traditional Ukrainian family. Professionally, she's worked at a local school level as a psychologist and a health and wellness educator. She also does in her spare time, after being Scoutmaster for Ukrainian Scouts and all her other work, she finds time to volunteer for the Contact Community Service, and she fields calls to various individuals who have various health issues. And for the last 5 years, she has been the Scoutmaster for Ukrainian Plus. And her joy in life is bringing joy to other people and helping them through her work as a volunteer work and her work in school to function better so they can live more productive lives. Would you please welcome, прошу привітати, Ліна Буняк.
I'm wearing flats, hold on. Thank you for that very touching introduction. I'm going to give you a little background of why this is such an auspicious and, as Autumn said, bittersweet occasion. But I always, as a mental health professional, I always try to look at ways to find interventions and find hope, because everything can be fixed, anything can be remedied, especially if we all pull together. So Ukraine gained independence after the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991 and has since veered between seeking closer integration with Western Europe and being drawn into orbit of Russia, which sees its interests as threatened by Western-leading Ukraine. A new democratic constitution was adopted on June 28, 1996, mandating a pluralistic political system with the protection of basic human rights and liberties. Again, very similar to our blessed country, the United States. Freedom of speech and press were guaranteed by law and by the Constitution, authorities were expected to generally respect these rights. Nevertheless, for more than 2 decades, Ukraine lived a dual existence. Although it was formally independent, it still lived in Russia's shadow. The Kremlin may have recognized Ukraine's independence in August of 1991, but it never really accepted it, due to the haunting realization that without Ukraine, Russia is a country, but with Ukraine, Russia can become an empire. But like Russia, despite its newfound independence, Ukraine was still riddled with corruption, cronyism, and oligarch rule. Much of its corruption, cronyism, and oligarchy was linked to Moscow and provided the Kremlin with a valuable tool to meddle and control Kiev's affairs. Consequently, authorities sometimes interfered with the news media through intimidation and other forms of pressure. But, unlike Russia, Ukraine's civil society was vibrant and its elections were competitive. In the course of Ukraine marking its de jure independence over 2 decades ago, Ukrainian society became increasingly more westernized and bolder, as Russia became more imperial and more overbearing under Vladimir Putin's thumb. The Maidan of Dignity brought about sweeping dramatic change, a new constitution, an active civil society, and a new European future. The ousting of Viktor Yanukovych was a victory to many Ukrainians, but it came at a high price. The death of approximately 98 to 125 people, we don't know exactly, according to the Ukrainian Health Ministry. Ukrainians call the victims of the street violence the Heavenly Hundred, in reference to people's self-defense hundreds who fought off riot police on the barricades. It has been asserted that a third force was the key factor in these clashes that became a bloody massacre in Kiev and turned the whole country upside down, indicating the likelihood that cold-blooded Russian-backed snipers atop of buildings in downtown Kiev picked off dozens of peaceful protesters as well as innocent bystanders. This was the beginning of Ukraine's journey away from Russia that is still playing out to date. The student protests organized to force President Viktor Yanukovych and Prime Minister Mykola Azarov to sign an association agreement with the EU developed into a revolution that overthrew the government, but sparked a Russian-stoked, contrived counter-revolution in Ukraine's eastern Donbass region. Thus, a newly aggressive and I believe frightened Russian President Vladimir Putin ordered the rollout of a plan to annex Crimea in order to hijack the success of the Euromaidan revolution. Now, Crimea has turned into a repressive society with hundreds of pro-Ukrainian and pro-Crimean Tatars having been tortured and imprisoned on trumped-up charges. In the meantime, Putin's hybrid war in the eastern portion of Ukraine has killed over 10,000 innocent Ukrainian civilians. Tragically, 2,000 of whom have been children. This hybrid war has changed the landscape of conflict. Terrorists, state-run energy cartels, cyber attacks, internet trolls, and little green men all practice hybrid warfare by using the processes and instruments of open society, like Ukraine is aspiring to become, to attack, disrupt, or weaken them. Although hybrid warfare can take many forms, Russia's actions regarding Ukraine are quite exemplary, arming foreign insurgents while denying such support, employing inflammatory propaganda, fostering civil unrest among foreign minority communities, cutting off energy supplies, and even outright invasion. But it is important to keep in mind that Russian hybrid operations extend beyond Ukraine. They include provocative overflights and harassment of air, land, and sea traffic of many neighboring countries, including NATO allies, intimidation, and covert operations, cyber attacks, such as what we recently heard about that happened to the DNC, of course. Financial manipulation, kidnapping and illegal border crossings, snap military exercises, and deployments near borders and casual threats of nuclear weapons. So where do we go from here? Well, my thinking is that we continue to become inspired by people who do both extraordinary and little things that all add up to making a difference for Ukraine. We were inspired by the courage of Ukrainian fighter pilot Nadia Savchenko. We're inspired by people like Dr. Ulyana Sukrun, who was born in the United States, Michigan, and is now the health minister in Ukraine and trying to work hard and creating reform, health reform for the people in Ukraine. We are inspired by our own Bishop Boris Gudyak, who is president of the Ukrainian Catholic University, is educating a new generation of Ukrainians, an enlightened generation who will espouse the values of democracy and decency. But also, speaking of the next generation, I look to our new generation of Ukrainians. For example, we had the opportunity to meet a young lady named Clem Demid from Ukraine, who at the tender age of 20 years old left school and decided to document what was going on the Euromaidan by taking pictures. And then locally, we are inspired by our next generation of leaders and future leaders. Of course, I'm talking about Greg Wyszynski, who has a young family and works tirelessly for the Ukrainian community. Another example would be Christine Bobetsky. She's a doctoral candidate at Syracuse University who has published articles regarding Ukrainian families, the psychology of them, and how they're raised. Another inspiring young Ukrainian would be Mark Timnicki. He spent his summer in an internship at the Verkhovna Rada, currently a graduate student at the Maxwell School. And for your information, he has published a very, very comprehensive article about the distinction between Ukraine and the Ukraine in Forbes magazine, so please Google it. We're very proud of you. And even lastly, I would be amiss to even mention my own daughter, who 2 years ago for her Eagle Scout badge in class, helped, with the help of the community, helped the creation of a donation drive for Ukrainian soldiers and their families, which has continued to this date being active within our community, along with SUM, the Federal Credit Union, and the Orthodox community as well. So let me wrap this up by saying, remember that at 25, Ukraine still may need time to mature, but within these 25 years, our up-and-coming generation of Ukrainians that you see right here have had enough time to understand and know that they want to build upon these possibilities now more than ever. And before you know it, the future of Ukraine will be in their hands. As the Ukrainian champion of freedom, the world-famous Ukrainian poet and writer Taras Grigorovich Shevchenko said, "Do little things, and they will become great." Thank you.
Дуже дякую. Thank you very much for those very informative and inspiring words. Дуже дякую за такі теплі слова. When I was doing the introductions of the Ukrainian dignitaries, the first thing I mentioned was Ukrainian education, Ukrainian youth. And first on my list was Ukrainian school, or Lesya Ukrainka, School of Ukrainian Studies, in which I glossed right over it. Найперш за все, в громаді треба мати школу, щоб виховувати наше нове покоління. Я вибачаюся, що я пропустив рідну школу, and representing the Lesya Ukrainka School of Ukrainian Studies is Svetlana Patsova. Given the chance, also it just came to my attention that we have two volunteers here, двох добровольців, котрі допомагають Україні. Two volunteers that work tirelessly to help the war effort in Ukraine. One of them is standing right behind you. Одна особа, це стоїть за мною, тримає український націоналістичний прапор, holding the black and red flag. Євген Масний. Druga osoba, the second individual, who frequently flies to Ukraine to dispense the aid that is collected here. And as a matter of fact, 2 or 3 years ago, Madame Mayor, if you remember, you received a Ukrainian flag from the front. That gentleman's name is Roman Volitsky, who is in Ukraine, in Zaporizhia, which is the historical city of Ukrainian Cossacks located on the Dnipro River. Regretfully, he was attacked by Russian agents, severely beaten, and we understand that he is recovering in a hospital. Романа Волицького набили тітюшники, так сильно побили, що він лежить у лікарні в Запоріжжі. Так що our hopes and prayers, наші молитви, are with Roman Volitsky. Speaking of hope and prayers, as we mentioned earlier, this celebration is a bittersweet celebration. Сьогодні святкуємо з радістю і смутком, зі смутком, тому що так багато наших людей загинуло. The bitter part is that so many people gave up their lives. The sweet part is that we have a new generation, as was mentioned by our keynote speaker. З радістю святкуємо, бо ми маємо нове покоління, котре продовжує боротьбу за вільну, незалежну Україну. Щоб шанувати пам'ять Небесної Сотні, 10 тисяч людей, що загинуло у битві проти російської навали, і також за тих невинних людей, котрі загинули в Malaysia Airline, рейс MH17, там 300 осіб загинуло. Ми вшануємо їхню пам'ять хвилинку. We would like to honor the victims of the Russian aggression in Ukraine, namely the Heavenly Brigade of 100 Ukrainian students who gave up their lives, who were shot by Russian snipers. The over 10,000 people who lost their lives as a result of the Russian invasion. Of that 10,000, there are approximately 2,500 children. And also, let's not forget, Malaysia Airline, flight MH17, where 298 innocent tourists were blown out of the sky by Igor Strelkov, a Russian colonel, who boasted on the internet that we will shoot down any Ukrainian plane that flies in Ukrainian territory. Shortly after they found out that it was a civilian airline, he took down the post off the internet. To honor these people, these victims, Let's honor them with a moment of silence. Thank you. And now for the sweet part of our celebration, тепер з радістю піднесемо український прапор і співаємо національний гімн. And now at this time we'd like to raise the Ukrainian flag and joyously sing Ukrainian national anthem.
Ще не вмерла Україна, і слава, і воля, ще нам, браття мої, усміхнеться доля. Згинуть наші вороженьки, як роса на сонці. Запануєм і ми, браття, у своїй сторонці. Душу й тіло ми положим за нашу свободу і покажем, що ми браття козацького роду. Душу й тіло ми положим за нашу свободу і покажем, що ми браття козацького роду.
Дякую. А тепер, щоб розвеселити нас, and now to have a traditional Ukrainian dances, we're going to have the Odessa Dance Ensemble of the Ukrainian American Youth Association, one of the two Ukrainian youth associations that was mentioned earlier. Okay, hopak is a traditional dance of Ukraine. Hopachok literally means little hopak. Так що, шановні гості, ladies and gentlemen, would you please welcome the Odessa dancers and Hopachok? дуже гарно. Very nice. Thank you very much. It's always nice to see young smiling faces. Дуже приємно бачити гарних, усміхних, дитячих облиць. Thank you very much, Father Микола Андрушів, закрити сьогоднішнє свято. Like to have Father Andrushev close this celebration with an invocation. Отче, прошу.
Ваше Преосвященство, Великодолице, високоповажні отці, шановна українська громада, я сьогодні дуже радий разом з вами перебувати на цьому місці, тому що я ще недавно приїхав з України і мені, знаєте, деколи так, коли ми збираємось в українство далеко від рідної землі і святкуємо наші українські свята, десь, можливо, щось не вистачає. Знаєте, рідна земля дає набагато більше, ніж те місце, де ми є тут. Якому ми, до речі, дуже вдячні, що воно нас, ця земля годує, кормить, дає нам можливість працювати, жити і своєю працею навіть допомагати в Україні. Сьогодні велике свято, 25 років незалежності України, але наша Україна набагато більшу має історію, ніж 25 років. Ми можемо святкувати в найближчому часі і сторіччя Української Народної Республіки, і тисячоліття Ярослава Мудрого, який дуже гарно організовував нашу українську землю. Але сьогодні хочемо на закінчення нашого свята тут, в Америці, в місті Сиракюзи, помолитися про те, щоб Господь Бог допомагав нашій рідній українській землі. Тому що всі ми відчуваємо те, що я сказав на початку, оту таку, напевно, тугу за своєю рідною батьківщиною, за своєю рідною землею. Тому сьогодні просимо Бога, щоб Господь Бог дав благословення нашій рідній українській землі, українському народу, який сьогодні переживає дуже важкі часи, щоб благословив всіх тих українську армію, тих воїнів, які сьогодні стоять на рубежі, на фронті, бережуть нашу землю від того розділення, яке хочуть зробити деякі країни, деякі люди. Помолитися за українську владу, щоб Господь Бог дав їм розуму вести нашу землю до процвітання і щоб закінчився за той період занепаду, а почався розвиток. Просимо Бога і молимо сьогодні за всю нашу діаспору, все українство, яке є в Сполучених Штатах Америки, яке по всьому світу, щоб Господь Бог і дав нам теж силу і пам'ять за кожен день про те, що ми є українці, щоб ми ніколи не забували свого коріння, а своїм життям, своєю працею, своїми добрими справами завжди підтримували і поширювали, щоб це місце, особливо Америка, де ми живемо, знало, що є така країна Україна, чим вона живе, і щоб ми пропагували все своє українське. Тому нехай сьогодні Господь Бог всіх нас благословить, дасть нам року в рік ще більше і більше збиратися на таких радісних моментах, яке святкує наша рідна земля Україна, на таких святах, День Незалежності нашої держави. І Господь нехай всіх нас благословить. Слава Богу, який є на висоті. Слава Україні!
Дякую, на тім закінчимо. With that we close. Слава Україні!
Thank you very much. I think he's asking.
And all other people, please come for the picture.